Hey folks, Doomed Wizard here. So last night I got to hang out with my good friend Mike Indovina, the creator of the Argonauts Odyssey role-playing game. Normally we game on Saturday nights, but since I haven't been able to make as many videos for you guys as I would like, I thought it'd be kind of fun to sit around and have a conversation with him and talk about his game and Greek mythology in general. But before I show you the interview, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. I'm here with my good buddy Mike Indovina to discuss his new role-playing game, Argonauts Odyssey. Did I say Argonauts?
Yes, you did.
No, but I often confuse Argonauts Odyssey with at Argonauts.com. Now, I've known you for almost 20 years, if not 20 years, because we met around 03, 04.
Right.
You have, it's safe to say, you have forgotten more about Greek mythology than most people learn. Mine happened, my specialty is Norse mythology, because I like all the doom and gloom. And but you lean into more of the storytelling of, I think, as a genre of mythology, right? You like all the general bigness of Greek mythology.
Right.
That having been said, what got you into Greek mythology, and eventually led to coming up with the game I can't pronounce?
Well, I've been into Greek mythology as long as I can remember. Right? My dad had a lot of books on the shelf, like the Edith Hamilton mythology book and Robert Graves. And I read those when I was very young, and I just picked it up, and I mean, by the time we actually studied it in school, I knew way more than the teacher.
So it's safe to say that Greek mythology, I mean, it's a dumb thing to say because of your last name, but it's safe to say Greek mythology is in your blood. Here's an illustration that what did you say? The painting hung in your dad's office.
Yeah, and that was first my grandfather had it, and then my dad inherited it, and now I have it. But it's a painting done by, I'm not sure how far back it goes, but great grandfather did it.
So it's safe to say that stuff like that probably led to fueled your imagination. That then led you to at some point down the line, it all came to a head in this really fun, well illustrated. Like, look at this. It's got some great maps in here.
The maps were inspired a lot heavily by archaeology, the actual archaeological plans of the excavations. Some of them I had to fudge because they're incomplete.
Right. They wouldn't have the.
Right.
they're called ruins,
Right.
for a reason.
Yes, they're definitely in ruins.
So, not only does Greek mythology run in the blood, but as does the art, because this is Mike's own illustrations in here. It's loaded with his illustrations. So that all eventually came to this. So did you play, like, because you played D&D like everybody else, right? Back in the day.
I started playing D&D, and I don't know, my brother brought it home. The old basic set with the red dragon on the cover. In the late 70s sometime. I can't remember if it was before or after Star Wars, but
that's how we measure time. There's before Star Wars and after Star Wars. And if you're our age, when I say Star Wars, you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
So when you guys played D&D, did you use more of like did you fight a lot of cyclopes and skeletons and things from those kind of stories?
Well, mythology inspired a lot of my adventures that I created. I liked using those types of monsters like the chimeras and harpies and things like that. But I mean, that's not my only. I'm not like a one-trick pony either.
Oh no. you've made lots of different games that we played.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the Tolkien and other things influenced me too.
Mm-hmm.
But the Greek mythology, I think, is my main inspiration.
So was it? And I don't know a lot about the genre per se in role playing games, but was it the that you couldn't find one and you said, hell with it, I'm going to make my own?
I couldn't find one that presented the subject matter adequately. I think I had one a long time ago called Heroes of Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the company that came out with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of neat. It maybe inspired me to start on my own game.
Mm-hmm.
I just found the system sort of unworkable.
Yeah.
The combat system and stuff was. It just didn't work.
It didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah. Now this is, if I remember right, this is percentage based mostly, right? Yeah. What possessed you to use the percentage based system?
I think mainly it was influenced by RuneQuest and the Chaosium games.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that system really worked. I originally was using a 6-sided dice for it, but I changed it up, and I think. I mean, besides the influence of RuneQuest, I think because it made the advancement of the characters a little slower and easier to do. Like, say, if you get a certain number of, what do I call them now, hero points or whatever, when you after the adventure, it's it's glory points. I can't even remember my own game.
Well, it wouldn't hurt if you only had one game to work out. He's got 3 or 4 of them. I just got the one. He's got like 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
1 or 2 might even be on the shelf here. Behind
Right.
you.
Yeah, glory points. It's basically the equivalent of experience points, and you use them to advance your character.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it's percentage based, you can use 1 glory point per percentage point, and it makes the advancement slower. But if I use a 6-sided dice, it's harder to do that, in the way that I wanted to do it.
Right. So, how long have you been working on Argonauts Odyssey? You guys don't understand. I've known about Argonauts.com for years, and then so it's just it trips up on my tongue every time.
Yeah, I get it. I can't remember my own shit half the time.
Well, so how long have you been working on this?
Long time. I always wanted to make a Greek mythology game, and I originally started out with a board game. It just got too complicated, and I just wanted to include too much, so I just said, screw it, I'm going to make it a role playing game because I have, and I have a lot more room to add everything that I want.
Yeah, yep. And it's a pretty well fleshed out game that also isn't it doesn't have every rule for everything, which is another thing that a lot of OSR type games do, where they don't have. It's up to the GM to, make a ruling then and there, and you can kind of do that with this because it doesn't cover every eventuality. In just 150 pages, it's a self-contained world game full of everything from, archetypes to monsters. There's a couple. There's a sample game in this too, isn't there?
There's 2 sample solo adventures which are meant to sort of familiarize you with the rules and how they work.
Right, like a choose your own adventure.
Right. Yeah.
There was a time a while back that this is how into Greek mythology this man is. He brought over a board game that wasn't in English. That was basically like a world like a world exploration of like ancient Greece that we had to figure out how to play. And this was before everything was on YouTube. So that was a fun night.
Yeah, I remember that. It's called Ulysses. It was the idea of the game was it was a board game. It had like the Mediterranean Sea on the for the map, and all the players played gods, and you're supposed to blow Odysseus around to different places. Like you have cards that show the places that you're supposed to make him go. And yeah, I didn't have the rule. I had to find the rules translated into English. But I don't know. I looked for that game forever just because. At one time, I was a completist as far as like collecting Greek mythology related stuff. There's a limited amount of. I mean, it seems like there's a lot, but there's actually a limited amount of Greek mythology related games and.
Which makes no sense,
right?
Because it's literally in everything we do. There's all of our, a lot of our fiction, everything. It's all over the place. But as far as game stuff like that, yeah, you're right. There's no end of other types, other types of high fantasy games and whatever. But not, this. I'm not going to say, this is the first one I've ever seen, but. It's criminally underrepresented as a gaming genre, although we could be wrong. So here's my challenge: if you can think of one that he doesn't know about, put it in the comments, and if he's heard of it, I'll let you know. And if he hasn't, he'll probably buy it, and then we'll let you know.
I have this on Drive-Thru RPG now. I found another one on our Drive-Thru RPG. I'm kind of interested to look at.
Yeah.
It's called Arte, I think.
Okay.
I'm not promoting somebody else's game.
Well, speaking of Drive-Thru, you can find this on Drive-Thru RPG.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And even though I said it was self-contained and this is all you need, he has more. He has 2 supplements and 1 on the way.
There's actually 3 right now.
Okay, what do you got?
I had the Argonauts Odyssey Adventure Pack number 1, which had 2 solo adventures, similar to the ones that are in the core book, and a 1-page dungeon.
Okay.
Which is basically like a death trap dungeon type of thing.
Oh yeah, I almost used that. I was going to ask you if I could use that in an episode when I do a 1-page dungeon episode. Because even though it's for Argonauts Odyssey, you can play it with just about anything.
Right.
But it works best with this.
Right. And then the other 2, I have one on Mycenae, which is the main city. The most powerful city at in the time, Greek mythology days. And then I have one called The Tracking Satyrs, which I based on a satyr play, which is where the satyrs have to find Apollo's cattle.
Yeah, we played that one. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It's a hex crawl, and we powered through it because this was when we were still kind of working on the mechanics of your game, But even though we powered through it, there's so much room because it covers miles and miles and miles, or whatever they used in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
It covered hectares. I don't know. You could put all kinds of stuff in there, or you could roll. There's instances where it's like, one of the things about this game is it doesn't have to be all combat. You can have interactions. Like there's one scene in that adventure where we because everybody plays satyrs and that was a lot of fun, but we run into this giant beehive, honeybee hive, and we probably could have literally carried on a conversation with these things and spent the night doing that, and it would have been a lot of fun because we've been playing for decades, so it's kind of fun to do something more than just what the game tells you to do. And we probably would have had a blast with it, but no, we just decided to smoke them out and eat their honey. But even though it's a small game, there's plenty of room for more stuff to put into it.
Right. there's another one that's in the works. I'm working on it right now, which the title of it is going to be Tragedy.
Want me to leave the room so you can tell them?
No.
So okay,
that's fine.
Okay.
I won't disclose too much about it.
Okay.
They haven't play tested it yet.
Yeah.
But it focuses more on, and you're gonna have to create new characters again.
Oh darn.
For this adventure, because the characters are all siblings, and it focuses more on the palace intrigue and so on, and curses and anguish and things like that. Anguish is a mechanic in the game where it's kind of like, if something really bad happens to you, you suffer anguish points. Sort of like sanity in Call of Cthulhu, but not quite. And in this new supplement, I outline some effects. I was kind of vague in the core rules about what happens if you run out of anguish point, or if your anguish points exceed your psyche trait. But I have some charts now in this new supplement that you can roll on, and it'll tell you what what happens to you,
right?
Including if you roll really, really bad, you could commit suicide.
Or we'd roll a 1 and accidentally commit suicide,
right?
In other games.
Right.
Well, that's the beauty of supplements, man. Is they can flesh out more rules for. I hate using the word rules. Maybe option is a better word for it. More choices and options rather than rules, because I prefer I prefer rules like games, which again is a staple for OSR,
right.
Which is mostly because at our age we're just kind of like, I don't want to learn a new rule,
And it's pretty simple. You just roll. Each person rolls percentile dice. If you roll under your skill, in other words, if you're successful, then whoever rolls higher is the one who succeeds.
Right. So you have opposing rolls, and that's basically it. That's really, and if you've played more than one role playing game, and most people have, it doesn't take that long to pick it up.
Right.
And then when you realize it's all just opposing rolls, there you go. You're off to a world of adventure. Speaking of worlds of adventure, so you started playing D&D.
Right.
And that's all it took. So what is it about role-playing games?
That's a good question. It's
because I've tried for a while to make a video about what it is about role-playing games, and I can't come up with the words. So maybe I can borrow a few cues from people,
right?
About what is it about a role-playing game?
Well, it's kind of like when I was talking about that I started out with a board game, and it's just that with a role-playing game, it's limitless.
Yes,
you can include anything you want. Especially with a fantasy game, certain genres work, I think, best. Fantasy, the D&D style fantasy,
obviously
works really well because you can combine all these different genres into it. And I think superheroes also works really well because there's so many different types of heroes, and you can have a magic hero, and a mutant, a martial arts guy, or whatever,
cosmic, Green Lantern type.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you can combine all that stuff, and you can basically do whatever you want. If it gets too, I think if the subject gets too limited, it limits your options. But,
right.
I mean, that's not always a bad thing.
Right.
But I have just Greek mythology, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot you can do with it. I mean, there's so much stuff based on Greek mythology from great literature, like the Greek tragedies and the Odyssey, the Iliad, to silly cartoons like Hercules, the one in the '60s.
And what's the or the sci-fi one? Was it Ulysses?
Oh yeah, Ulysses 31. Yeah,
Ulysses 31, which is a great show.
Right.
That this guy found. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you can do so much with it. It's, with the subject, and a lot of people, to me, don't do it justice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted to do my own.
Yeah.
I thought, of course, being the egotistical snob that I am, I thought that I could do it better than everybody else.
Well, I mean, it's not bragging if you can do it. All right. So on that note, we've established you can find Argonauts Odyssey and the supplements on Drive-Thru. You got a tarot deck on there too, don't you?
Right.
Greek inspired.
Right.
All that can be found on Drive-Thru RPG. I'll put links in the description. Where can people find you?
Okay. Well, I live in Indiana.
Yeah, he's displaced. He's stuck here in Indiana with me now.
Yeah. Well, I've got a website. It's www.satyr.productions.com. Satyr, S-A-T-Y-R.
And you've got a couple of web comics, don't you?
I do. Yeah, they're on there. They're linked down there.
Yeah. Chimera Strikes is a web comic.
Right.
At Argonauts started out as a web comic.
Right. Yeah, those are both on. What is that called? Webtoons.
Yeah, Webtoons.
Right.
Okay. So here's my question, and then we'll close out the show with this.
Okay.
Movies.
Right.
If you were gonna recommend a Greek mythology movie, this is gonna be such an easy question for him.
Mm-hmm.
If you could pick one movie to tell people you gotta see this,
right?
What would it be?
Okay. Well, I have a couple answers for that.
Okay. Well, then give us a couple answers.
Yeah. Of course, there's the classic Jason and the Argonauts.
Mm-hmm.
The one that came out in the '60s.
Mm-hmm.
The Ray Harryhausen special effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. It's got the special effects and the it's a B movie basically.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just got some really interesting visuals and it sticks to the myth pretty close.
Yeah.
And I've always really loved that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's some, just like I do with my board games, I look to like foreign representations of. I think probably my favorite Greek myth movie was actually a mini-series made in Italy in the 60s, I think in 1967, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
which is based on the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
It's just called the Odyssey, but in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in fact it's I think 8 episodes or 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is actually directed by Mario Bava.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that. You have to show me.
Yeah, I'll show you sometime. It's the episode with the Cyclops, and because he uses a lot of visuals, special effects that are based on like camera angles and like the Cyclops is a giant, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and so they use all the simple special effects. Where there's like a movie screen and like a fake hand and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really well done.
Yeah.
It's it looks really good, and it's a low budget thing, but it is probably the best. What's the word I'm looking for? Interpretation of a. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it'll do. The best adaptation. That's
okay.
Of a Greek myth that I've seen.
Mm-hmm. No, Hercules against the Moon Man?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else is there? There's, Hercules, all those Hercules movies with Steve Reeves and everything.
Various muscle men.
And the Perseus versus Medusa, where Medusa looks like a tree with an eye. And what else is there? There's a lot. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot, but just a lot of them aren't really that great. That's
you kind of just watch them for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the the science fiction thing. Like we say back in the '70s, we only had Star Trek.
Yeah.
Before Star Wars came out, you didn't have a lot of options. So
no.
People gravitated towards Star Trek and Doctor Who and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And not that those things aren't good, but
right.
But there just weren't a lot of options, and there's not a lot of options for, like, if you're a big fan of Greek mythology and you like pop culture movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of good options, unfortunately. Some of the recent ones were real stinkers.
Yeah.
Like, at least to me, they were. I didn't like the remake of Clash of the Titans at all.
No. I don't think anybody out there did.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of good options, though, I'm going to pimp this one more time. I'm going to get it right. Argonaut, this book. Argonauts Odyssey. If you like Greek mythology and you want to have a fun game that's only 150 odd pages long, that's easy to learn, I can't recommend this enough. Mike, it was a blast having you up in the tower.
All right. Thanks.
Well, that about wraps it up for this video. Again, if you'd like to see more live action videos like this, let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to do all the YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you don't miss a single video. Thanks for watching.